Okay, this video lesson is on what is a sentence. In other words, what are the basic elements of a sentence, the non-negotiable, the absolute minimum that you must have to do for a sentence to be a sentence. And some of you think, well, I know what a sentence is. But one of the most common errors of students in writing are run-on sentences, sentence fragments, and comma splice. And so when we can remind ourselves what are the basic elements of a sentence, it can help us avoid those errors. So the basic elements that you need, this is the bare minimum. You need a subject. Oops, sorry. You need a subject, and we also call that a noun. You need a verb, and it needs to be a complete thought. And those are the minimum for what we would call a sentence, but also for a main or independent clause. Independent. Sometimes when I start writing, I can't remember how to spell. So you need a subject, you need a verb, and you need a complete thought. Those combined are what make a sentence, or we also refer to them as the main or an independent clause. Later, when we look at complex sentences, you'll need to be able to identify if it's an independent clause or a main clause. Now, there are other elements. All sentences start with what? A capital letter. All sentences end with some kind of end punctuation, a period, question mark, or an exclamation point. But these are the basic elements. You can't get by without those. And so the very simplest sentence can be a two-word sentence. Actually, you can have a one-word sentence, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So a basic sentence, I might say Jack ran. I've got a subject and I've got a verb. Two words. Jack ran. Now you can add more words. I could add some adjectives. So maybe I could say the bunny hopped. Bunny is my subject and hopped is my verb. I could throw in, and the is an adjective that describes bunny. Which bunny is it? It's the bunny. But I could add other adjectives. I could say the cute little white fluffy bunny, throw in all those adjectives, hopped joyfully. And as we learned in the last video lesson, you can use prepositional phrases as adjectives and adverbs. So I could say the bunny hopped into the garden. Into the garden is a prepositional phrase, and it tells you where, so it would be an adverb phrase. But the basic elements, a subject and a verb, those are the basic elements that you need for a complete sentence. I mentioned that you could have a one-word sentence. Excuse me. If I wanted to make a command, some of you have already learned this, that a sentence that is a command is called an imperative. An imperative sentence is a command, and it's when you tell someone to do something. So a little kid is standing in the middle of the street and a car is coming along and I want this kid to move quickly. I will yell, run. That's a one-word sentence, because when you have an imperative sentence, there is It's understood that the subject is you. So if my little boy is in the street and I see a car coming, I might not say, Jack, run. I might just yell, run. And the subject is understood to be you, in other words, the person I'm talking to. So, for example, when we do quick writes, I'll say, on your marks, get set, write. And if I'm excited, I might have an exclamation point. It's understood that my subject is all of you. So I'm meaning that you should write. So you can have a one-word sentence, but that one-word sentence has a subject that's implied. So the most basic sentence pattern is what we would call a noun-verb sentence. So the bunny hopped, Jack ran, I ate, the children sang, the sun shined, the thunderstorm stormed. Where you have just as you can have other adjectives, you can have adverbs, you can have prepositional phrases, but the basic elements in that sentence would be a subject and a verb. And the subject depends on what grammar book you look at, but it will be called either a noun or the subject. And the subject is a noun or noun phrase. So that is our most basic elements of a sentence.